All right. Welcome to Sideboard MTG. My name's Eric, and we've got another great deck from one of our patrons over on patreon.com. This is a mono green Stompy build from Jeffery Willig. Now, this deck is a lot like the one he played last month. However, he has updated it with some new cards, and we're going to be trying out his new version. We did end up destroying, with it last month, so I expect good things out of it again this time. This is a deck that Jeffrey actually plays in paper, so I hope you guys like it. If you do, give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to play this deck or any other deck, whether that's in paper or online, make sure you check the description box below for a link to Mana Traders. They're a great rental service. For a flat rate, you just play anything. It's terrific. Trust me. Check it out. Save yourself some money. Use the coupon code. All right, guys. We are going to jump into this deck. Now, Jeffrey's got a really cool deck here. I like it. It's a definite his take on a mono green Stompy build. So I really like this. It shows that he's put like a lot of hard work in it. There's a couple things that I think that the deck is missing, and I'm gonna put those in there. But there's just a few things I think the deck's missing. But the creature count on this deck is what has me most excited about it. 30 creatures. 30 creatures, guys. That is half of the cards. We're talking 50% of the cards you see are going to be creatures. That's awesome. Which brings me to my next point. Where is Lifecrafter's Bestiary? Out of all decks, I think this deck could just brutalize a control deck. Brutalize, is that a word? Right? Probably the wrong word for that sentence, right? Could brutally destroy a control deck with a Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Now, we do have some Rhonas' monuments here, and I think that would be the card I would trade out for Lifecrafter's Bestiary. But giving some of these big bodies we have, trample and +2/+2 is going to be phenomenal. Plus, making them cost a little bit less, not going to be bad either. I'm sure Rhonas' Monument is outstanding in this deck. It's another one of those decks where you do really need a high creature count to make it work. So I do like the fact that he has the high creature count here, 30 creatures. That's great. But I just really would like to see some Lifecrafter's Bestiaries. Other than that, love the deck. I think it's got all of the right answers for a lot of things. It does plan to fight most of its fights on the ground and just stop what's in the air. It is not as weak to air as you would think, but you can tell that Jeffrey has had some battles with losing in the air. So his sideboard is chock full of answers for air combat. And I mean just that. We're going to be fighting those creatures in the air. So let's look at his deck. Now there's 16 forest here, and then he's got a couple colorless lands, and then some Hashep Oasis and a Memorial to Unity. So we've got one Field of Ruin, and then if we move on down here, we've got two Zhalfirin Voids. Now these just scry when they enter the battlefield. They do not enter tapped or anything. So it's just a colorless mana, but you are going to get that scry. That's very important. I do think that, again, that if we had the Lifecrafter's Bestiary as the two of in the deck, that would give you the scry you need and could allow you to go ahead and make these a couple more deserts. Maybe the Scavenger Grounds from the sideboard or something like that. But I do like the Zhalfirin Voids, and no real argument there. Memorial to Unity is just a really good card because it's going to let you look at those top 5 cards, and you're going to put a creature from among them into your hand, which is really, really good. Now, I like the black one best, but this is still a really good effect. For 3 mana, tap this, sacrifice it. You look at the top 5 cards of your library, you reveal a creature card, put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal at all. So that's the mana base. Other than the Hashep Oasis, I don't think that needs much explanation. Tap it, sacrifice any desert. Sacrifice a desert. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Oh, how I wish this said +3/+3 in trample. It would have been so much better, but just +3/+3 is enough. And let's jump into the rest of the spells. Now, he's got 30 creatures, so he's got a bunch of spells here to help protect those creatures. A whole play set, if you will. There's 3 Blossoming Defense and 1 Heroic Intervention. Now, Heroic Intervention is absolutely terrific against those Fumigates and things like that. Not going to help you out a lot against Settle the Wreckage, but against Fumigate, this is absolutely phenomenal. If someone's got Phyrexian Scriptures or something like that, they're trying to destroy everything, Heroic Intervention is exactly where you want to be there. Now, Blossoming Defense, we know how good this card is. It's been getting play since it was printed. This is probably one of the best protection spells in green that has ever been printed, mainly because it can double as a pump spell and just get in there, you know, for an extra 2 points of damage. So it's kind of like the green shock, but yet, you know, it's also a green counter. We're going to counter their ability to kill our dude. So if they want to kill it now, they have to put yet another spell into it. So, you know, works a lot like a counter spell. I really like Blossoming Defense, and I can see why he's running 3. Now, Llanowar Elves, we know how powerful Llanowar Elves is. But in this deck, where we are trying to get down that turn 2 Stillleaf Stompy or Stillleaf Champion, like this is kind of what really drives the Stompy deck. Is the Llanowar into Stillleaf as an opener is almost non-recoverable for most opponents. Now, some opponents will have answers for this. Most good decks should have answers for this. Otherwise, they're probably not good decks, because this opener is a big part of our meta. We see the mono green, we see the green black variants of this deck, and they are basically built around utilizing this Llanowar Elves into Stillleaf Champion openers. So the fact that he has it here is just absolutely terrific. Also, we'll see that he's got some Narnam Renegades. Now, this actually more than likely doubles as removal, or just to put the brakes on a quick opponent. If they don't have something like First Strike or some burn for it, they're probably not going to try to swing into it. It is a 1/2, so it does have some protection from those Goblin Chainwhirler, you know, attacks that are enter the battlefield triggers that destroy most 1-drops. But this is a 1/2 and has the chance to actually become a 2/3. If you did have Revolt. So Revolt is pretty good here. So drawing a Narnam Renegade late gives you a Death Touch 2/3 if you can trigger the Revolt. A lot of times we will be able to trigger the Revolt with, you know, sacrificing a desert or a Field of Ruin or something like that. So I do like Narnam Renegade here. And then, of course, Merfolk Branchwalker. I am not a fan of this card. I understand that it is a necessary evil, and you do have to run this in your 2-drop slot. I mean, it will give you some more lands. It will get a little bit bigger. So, I mean, Merfolk Branchwalker, it's a nice 2-drop. I do like the fact that if you'll notice, he's got 10 1-drops and 10 3-drops, but not as heavy on the 2-drops. And that's because he's kind of all in on having that Llanowar Elves opener. Llanowar Elves into a 3-drop on turn 2 is just absolutely terrific. And if it sticks around, and most of the time, if you have one of these great 3-drops, and let me point these out, and we've got Thrasking Brontodon and Stillleaf Champion. If you have one of these on turn 2, it's going to push the threat over to the Stillleaf Champion or the Thrasking Brontodon. So having those on turn 2 is absolutely terrific, because it actually provides a little bit of protection for your Llanowar Elves. If now they're more worried about having to deal with a Stillleaf Champion, they may not be as willing to go ahead and remove the Llanowar Elves if they haven't already. Now, most of the time, it's kind of, you know, that bolt the bird, push the elf kind of thing. So, you know, they are going to remove this if they have the opportunity, but if you can go ahead and get that Stillleaf Champion down, I have found that it normally protects the elf a lot, because now their priorities shift to dealing with the Stillleaf Champion. Because, let's face it, guys, a 5/4 on turn 2 is pretty good. It's pretty good. Now, after that, you know, your turn 3, you're going to be able to play a 4-drop. Now, he's got 6 4-drops, or you're going to be able to play multiple 2-drops, or a 2-drop and a 1-drop, and leave open the Blossoming Defense or something like that. So the turn 3 is still very powerful. And, you know, you got Resilient Khenra and Merfolk Branchwalker to help you out there. Branchwalker on 3, leaving up something else, or leaving up some room for you know, protection or something like that for that Stillleaf Champion, a lot of times is probably where you want to be. And then once you know they can't deal with the Stillleaf Champion, you can start coming out with your Territorial Allosaurus or your Ripjaw Raptors. Now, that's going to give you a really good opener if you're holding the Ghalta. let's look on over here at the top of the curve. This big 12 mana, but Ghalta enters the battle, or costs less to cast for the amount of power on the battlefield. So if you do turn to a Still Leaf champion, you've got 6 right there. Half the work is done. And then of course, if you can Ripjaw Raptor or Territorial Allosaurus on your turn 3, then you're looking at a turn 4 Ghalta, no problem. If you can Branchwalker on turn 3 with 4 mana and it gets the +1/+1 counter, you're looking at 6, 7, 8, 9. So you're really, really close even with a Branchwalker. Resilient Khenra works really well there because Resilient Khenra will actually allow you to turn 3 the Ghalta. You're looking at Llanowar Elf for 1. So Llanowar Elf for 1 plus Resilient Khenra and Still Leaf Champion. The turn Resilient Khenra enters the battlefield. You're going to have that 4 mana. You use 2 of it for the Resilient Khenra. It enters the battlefield. You make your Still Leaf Champion a 7. You get the 2 from Resilient Khenra and the 1 from Llanowar Elf. The other 2 mana actually cast the Ghalta, so you do have the opportunity for a turn 3 Ghalta here. Now, that's living the dream. Whether or not that will actually happen, I do not know, but that is living the dream, and you can do that with just Still Leaf, Resilient Khenra, and a Llanowar Elf. So you don't need that many cards to really kind of go into it. You do need to hit those lands, but some really powerful openers in this deck. Now, the sideboard here, Jeff, I want to talk to you a little bit about the sideboard. It feels like there's some holes in the sideboard. Like, I would like to see some more draw or something like that. Basically, that Lifecrafter's Bestiary would fit really well into the sideboard. I do like the fact that you've got your Carnage Tyrants here. Another Territorial Allosaurus. I know that you've got 2 extra lands here, so you can bump up to that 24 land, bump up to 26 land, so that you can cast these, Territorial Allosaurus for kicker. You can cast your Carnage Tyrants and your Grunn the Lonely King. Now, Grunn the Lonely King, I like this. I like the idea of this, especially with your Rhonas' Monument, that you can give it, you can give it trample. So Grunn's going to be really, really cool. I hope that I get into a matchup where I can bring this in. And I kind of like the idea that you have most of this. I don't think that you need the extra Territorial Allosaurus. And then the other one I really want to talk about is there are 5 cards set aside here to deal with flyers. Arbor Armament. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That creature gains reach until end of turn. So that means, the creature that you played or didn't attack with, you're going to block in the air with that. I can understand that, playing, Carnage Tyrant and then having an extra mana to make sure that it can block something in the air next turn is really decent. But I'm not a huge fan of this card. I do think that it's going to be really good against those Lyras and things like that. But when I say there's some holes missing, like, I don't see any way other than the 4 main board Torrential Gear or Thrasking Brontodons to deal with enchantments or artifacts. I would like to be able to see something like some Naturalize in the deck or something like that. Also, this card, I understand you wanted to keep it, cheaper, the 2 converted mana cost, so that you could, only pay 2 to deal with a Lyra or Shala, something like that. But personally, I think that Crushing Canopy is just better here. It's going to give you that extra option to deal with those enchantments, or if you run some Naturalize, you can also use that to deal with like Heart of Kirin and things like that. This does kill Glorybringer for 2 mana, but then again, so does Crushing Canopy, but it's only 3 mana. It is more expensive. I get that. You're trying to keep the converted mana cost of the deck down, and that's always really, really good. The Arbor Armament, like, this may be enough, but again, like, if we're trying to kill Glorybringer or something, I mean, you're going to need 8 power for your creature to survive. But if they're going to hit a Brontodon with with their Glorybringer trigger, and you do armament that Brontodon's going to survive and then be big enough to block. So you're going to eat a Glorybringer with a Brontodon and a card. So like that's not horrible. I get it. I think that the card's great, but 5 cards to deal with flyers. I think that diversity should be somewhere else. Like maybe have a couple other options for these cards. So that's one of the reasons, like especially if you're going to keep the armaments, change these Pierce the Skies to those Crushing Canopies just to give you a couple more options in your sideboard. There are quite a few enchantments that just need to be destroyed. Argyle's Bloodfast, Search for Azcanta. I know you can get those with a Field of Ruin when they flip, but that's just my advice on those. Is I just think by looking at the deck that we've got 5 slots here for one thing, and they're not really flexible. Understood. You plan on fighting most of the ground fights and winning those, and in the air is where you're vulnerable. So I mean, I do get that. Also, we've even got the Sylvan Awakening, and I'm trying to figure out why Sylvan Awakening overall. I do know that you can get in some really powerful swings with it. I know it works really good as blockers to kind of hold off those creatures gain reach, indestructible, and haste. Is this just in here to give you more reach creatures? And if it is, I think at that point you've got 7 cards in your sideboard just to deal with flyers, and I think that we're giving up on a lot of other things, other matchups. But this could just be really dependent upon your local meta. Maybe there are just a lot of flyers, or maybe you just don't like dying to Justin Clay's Lyra. And if that is the case, then sideboarding too much into one build or one thing, I think, is going to weaken your deck, because that tells me that, like, if these are all against flyers, that as soon as you see a Lyra in game 1, you've got 7 cards that you're wanting to take out just to go, all right, I have to be able to beat that Lyra. And that means that you're taking out 7 cards from your main board. And again, if it's a control deck and they're playing Lyra, I don't think you're taking out Blossoming Defense or Heroic Intervention, so that means 7 creatures are getting cut, where I think in some cases it may just be better to be more aggressive and just try to push through it, use your big creatures, make them have to block you. Then again, you've played the deck a lot more than I have. Those are just my initial thoughts. I'm going to jump into some gameplay, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, so let's see if we can get, no, not a league. Let's see if we can get a queue going here. Hope everyone can hear me well. Lincoln got a hold of my headset. It was beat up anyway, so we're using the Xbox headset. Turtle Beaches, they're not bad. Not bad. Don't get me wrong. But hopefully the sound quality is all right. I did run a test earlier, and everything seemed to be okay. So we're gonna try it with the Turtle Beaches for a little bit. All right. No one's playing in the queues. Well, that's sad. All right, here we go. So we've got 3 lands, a Narnam Renegade, Merfolk Branchwalker, Territorial Allosaurus, and a Ripjaw Raptor, and a monument. Oh, sorry, 2 lands. I don't know what I was thinking of. 3 lands. I still think we keep this. I mean, it's not that awesome opener, which we may need, but I think this is still decent. I am going to keep it. Okay. We'll drop the Memorial to Unity first. Hopefully we'll get a land here soon. Ooh, that's brutal. Brutal. At least they didn't have the... I mean, we may see the reason for these Flyers cards here. Yeah, I'm gonna Branchwalker. And we got a land. All right, so we're going to cruise right on to Ripjaw Raptor. Hopefully we can put down enough power to fight this guy. I know he is going to try to race us. So that is, that's going to happen. Okay, so Still Leaf's a good race. Um, so if we Still Leaf this turn, we've got 5 down. Next turn we can Monument and Narnam Renegade. Yeah, I think we go for the Still Leaf here. Swing for 2. We have to apply the pressure here. I mean, he's swinging 5 per turn. We'll be swinging 9 next turn, so we'll have him on a 2-turn clock. Ooh, wow, he's got us on a 2-turn clock. All right, well, then looks like we're going to die here. Yep. Not a whole lot we can do about it. Yeah, we're just dead. I mean, we can Rhonas' Monument. I don't really want to show him anything else, but we could Rhonas' Monument and Narnam Renegade to swing for 9. But he's just going to kill us on the crackback. Double favorable wins. It was just really good. I mean, we could hit hard, but it's just not going to be enough. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and wipe it up. Okay, well, we want to be fighting those flyers. I'm actually going to take the monument out. And I think we leave the renegades in, just make him fight with all the renegades. I don't think this is a blossoming defense game, so I'm going to bring in the armaments for that. Pierce the Sky is probably going to be good. I don't want to bring in Sylvan Awakening. I think we just bring in these 5. Heroic Intervention's probably not great. So he is blue. Maybe this Carnage Tyrant will be alright. So we'll run it like that. Sylvan Awakening may have been really good right there, but I think it would have just delayed him for a turn. So I'm going to keep on the play with the Llanowar Elf into Still Leaf Champion. Seems pretty good. And then we'll just pass. I knew it. I knew it was messed up. Yeah. I'm going to have to fix that. All right. So he has a Storm Tamer. So yeah, we just play our Still Leaf Champion and pass. Next turn, we're looking at Ripjaw Raptor. Swing 5. Obsession. We are going to have to... Ooh, wow. Wow, opponent. That's also a really good draw. This mono blue aggro is actually a really decent little deck. Warkite Marauder is phenomenal. He's tapped out, so it does not matter if I play before or after combat. So I'm just going to get that at F6 value in. I know some of you guys get mad at me when I play before combat. But yeah, he's tapped out. Didn't matter. It's not like he was going to block or make different decisions. Really? Wow. I mean, he's going to draw a ton of cards here. It also means that he can no longer use the ability on this. Just sacrificing this 4/4 for a counter spell is probably not what he wants to do. Like, he wants this thing to keep hitting. So getting an armament would be great. Okay, opponent. If he puts a blocker here, definitely might swing with the Llanowar Elf just to get the extra. Ooh. So we'll play Resilient Khenra. Yeah, I actually think we do it this way. Then we just attack. This changed things. Like, I'm not as worried about the Narnam Renegade getting its +1/1 counter yet. This gives us a really good swing. Wow. He lets me draw a card? Like, out of... Why wouldn't he block the 5/4? Okay. So we go Llanowar Elf. And I think we Narnam Renegade anyway, just so that we're getting it through with as many creatures as possible next turn. And we're taking the 4. He's drawing 3 cards. Not a lot we can do about that. The one thing that we can do is just push as much pressure as we can back at him. I mean, he does need to put down quite a few blockers here. We are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, land off the top means we get to fight. Armament is not bad. It's instant speed. So he's got 3 blockers here. So we're going to swing, swing, swing. We're going to swing like this. Okay. So what I've left open here is I'm expecting to draw a card. If it's a land, we're still going to get to fight here, and that's what we're hoping. Another Ripjaw. Okay. So we're gonna try to give Ripjaw Raptor the +1. He might have a counter spell. I mean, he's got 7 cards in hand. If he doesn't have a counter spell here, though, I'd be highly surprised. However, if he plays a counter spell to stop this, he may not have what he needs to play the blockers. And I think that's where he was at. That if he played his counter spell, he wouldn't be able to put down enough blockers, and he just dies on crackback. So yeah, Arbor Armament looks like it was okay there. Again, not exactly what we're looking for. Just didn't seem bad. And I want to play this Lonely King so bad. But I just don't think this is the right matchup for it. I mean, I could probably get rid of the Carnage Tyrant, but I think Carnage Tyrant just wins this fight if we get him down. Brontodon's going to kill their favorable winds and things like that, which will save us a lot of damage. Okay. I'm just going to run it back like we have it. Maybe Jeff is actually playing against a lot of I mean, we can turn to Merfolk Branchwalker. I mean, we're on the draw. Turn to Branchwalker. Try to get a land. I think we got a mulligan this. Okay, this isn't horrible. It's not exactly what I want, but it's not horrible. Branchwalker's pretty good here. So I'm actually going to void. Oh, actually, we draw the card, so we can still void on one. He did not have his one drop. All right, so we'll just void. Take our scry. You know what? I'm going to leave that on top. We'll draw that, and then we'll play our Branchwalker. Hopefully we'll get another... Hopefully we'll get another land here. If we don't, we just have to pitch whatever is there to make sure we get a land. It's a Llanowar Elf. That's almost a land. That is almost a land. I think we put that in the grave, though. I think we just pretty much have to have a land here. Tempest Djinn. Ooh. I think we just swing. I didn't figure he would block. I get the Resilient Khenra play. Okay, Field of Ruin isn't horrible. We're never going to be able to pop it. It's not a second green source for us. So, like, it's going to be a little bit of a pain. Like, he's not going to have anything other than... all right, so we're going to push the race a little bit more here. Hit him back for 5. I do want to keep the race going. Dreamcaller, that's pretty much going to shut us down right there, guys. Yep. Yep, that's not great. Our Merfolk Branchwalker is just not going to get there. Llanowar Elf. Looks like we're just a little too late. Zhalfirin Void. Just not enough green mana here. I mean, we can't do anything. We're dead. We are dead. Dead to the Flyers. Can't fight them. And then not enough green land to make things work. Like the Voids actually got away. The Voids just seemed like they were kind of bad for us there. Well, I get it. I get why you have so much protection against Flyers. Flyers are actually really dangerous. It's possible I should have just waited and just armament to kill the Tempest there and just trade my guy, but I don't think we were winning that fight anyway. There was one opportunity there where we could have killed the Tempest Djinn. It would have saved us, quite a bit of points of damage, but we would have used our only card, and then, of course, we wouldn't have been able to add anything else to the board. I mean, there was that turn that I passed where I could have used it, and I swung. But again, I don't think that would have caused us to win the game. I do believe that Siren Storm Tamer would have still gotten there just because of the land issue we had. So that third game was just horrible as far as lands go. Granted, there is that step there where we could have killed the Tempest Djinn, but I don't see killing the Tempest Djinn as being the backbreaker that would have turned that game around. We needed quite a few more things, and we needed to put a lot more heat down, or we were just going to lose to the Siren Storm Tamer, or not the Storm Tamer, the Dream Caller. So again, I do get where you're coming from here with just needing the ability to fight in the air. So the armament's decent. It's very good. Pierce the Sky, it's not very bad either. I'm not 100% sure on what you have the Sylvan Awakenings for. I don't think it's against like some control deck or anything, because I mean anything you awaken swing with, they're going to settle. You're just going to get those lands back, so it doesn't really matter there. But Sylvan Awakening just doesn't seem like it's a really good card for you unless you're going way into the late game. And then if you are going way into the late game, I again think that the Lifecrafter's Bestiary would just be better. So out of the cards that I would change in this deck, or make changes I would make right off the bat, would more than likely just be something along the lines of moving these lands, like this Scavenger Grounds. Come on, let's do this. The Scavenger Grounds can easily be over here. The Zhalfirin Void, I'm not 100% on that card. Not really big on it, honestly. Honestly, if you're wanting to have something that would do you some justice, the Cycling Desert. The Cycling Desert would probably be pretty decent for you. Let's go to here. Desert of the Indomitable. Yeah, it comes in tapped. Zhalfirin Void doesn't create green mana, so they both have drawbacks. At least late game, you can cycle this one. But then again, if you just want to have, more answers, you could always just have 2 Scavenger Grounds here instead of your Void, or 1 and 1. Remember, Scavenger Grounds, you can always just sack one of your Hashep Oasis, or you can sack the Scavenger Grounds to the Hashep Oasis. Either way, they do work together, so I think that the Scavenger Grounds would be better right there. I agree with the step to not bring in more than 3 colorless lands. We've seen right there how colorless actually hurt us very bad. So that was one of those situations. I'm not going to say it's a one-up. I'd say it comes up fair, because this deck needs a lot of green mana. But again, if we remove those Sylvan Awakenings here and the Torrential Allosaur, we open up 5 slots, and moving those lands over to the sideboard or over to the main board opens up a lot of spots. If you do want to keep 1 forest here, I understand that. So we'll say that we keep a singleton forest. Let's grab one. We're going to keep a singleton forest here just so that you can up that land count for the Grunn, the Lonely King, and things like that. But from there, I think that Naturalize is going to be one of your better cards to put in the deck. Naturalize is just a great card. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. And it says, if you threaten me again, your shiny steel trousers will be sprouting daggerthorn vines. Right? Isn't that pretty cool? Anyway, I would put in a couple Naturalize for sure. And then, of course, I still think that Crushing Canopy is a great card. I definitely think that Crushing Canopy should be in the deck, and I like it over Pierce the Sky. And then, of course, last but not least, Lifecrafters. I think that Life Crafters will help you more than most cards that you could possibly put in this deck. If you wanted to, another card that would probably be pretty good here, if you had some room for it, would be Aethersphere Harvester. That also would give you a little bit more of an edge against those flying, tactics. Like, so an Aethersphere Harvester could get a be a 3/5. You could even armament if you needed to make it a 4 power, so it can block and kill things like Shala or something like that. Giving it reach wouldn't really matter, but the extra +1/1 counter wouldn't be bad at all. You can also use it to give some of your creatures like pseudo haste. So Harvester wouldn't be really bad here either. Like personally, I think that Harvester and Life Crafters would be better than running the Rhonas' Monument. But again, I understand that Rhonas' Monument is a really powerful card, but in a fast meta, I don't think that it's going to be the card you need. Unless you run up against a lot of tokens and things, it'll give you the trample. But personally, just Life Crafters Bestiary and probably some Harvesters would be the way to go. The Gravestone, if you do make the Scavenger Grounds change here, you may not need the Gravestone as much. I do like the fact that you've used the Gravestone because you do have your Resilient Khenras and you're going to be using those. So it shows that there's a lot of thought has went into this, and it shows you've been playing the deck a lot because you're really tuned to the things that you're weak against. And we definitely showed that the mono green deck is susceptible to losing to flyers, and that makes your sideboard make a lot of sense. So I'm not going to argue about the Arbor Armaments at all. They're really good cards. I kind of wish it said untap that creature and give it reach, but this will do just fine. I do think the Crushing Canopies and the Life Crafter. So Jeffrey, I liked your deck. I know I rambled through it quite a bit. It's a really nice deck. I do like it. I am curious though. Have you tried the green black variants that run the Scrap Heap Scroungers and things like that? I know that mono green is nice, but if you had the green black, you could put some Hour of Glories in the deck. Hour of Glory is just a terrific card. You would lose some of your colorless lands and things like that. But you could put in 8 split lands, and I don't think that you would miss a lot. But it would open up a lot of options. You could still play the deck, main board mono green, but it would just give you those sideboard options and variants if you needed them for things like Hour of Glory or Fatal Push or something like that. I wouldn't try to go with double black spells if you did try those variants, but I personally think that if you'll pick up some Blooming Marshes and pick up some Woodland Cemeteries, throw those in this deck as part of those 16 basic forest. I think that you'll get away with being able to run some Hour of Glories and some 1 black pip spells out of the sideboard that could really turn your game plan around. Also, Hour of Glory is like a $1 card, and it is the card you'd want to run there. I don't think with only 8 black sources you would want to try to run anything other than something like Hour of Glory. Don't try the Vraska's Contempt. It's not going to be dependable. Hour of Glory will be dependable. It will help you with the Scarab Gods. It will help you with Hazoret. And then it can always just be a 4-mana kill anything. So it'll help you with Lyras and things like that. If you go that route, you're probably going to cut down one of your Grunns. Also, if you could end up with a second Carnage Tyrant, I would go ahead and swap one of the Grunns out for the extra Carnage Tyrant. Hands down, I think that would be a big play to make. Carnage Tyrant's just a huge monster. So I mean, if you could end up with an extra Carnage Tyrant, that I think that would be really good. But I understand Carnage Tyrant. He costs some money. So if you don't have him or you don't want to pick him up, that makes a lot of sense. But I think that I would run at least 2 Carnage Tyrants in the deck. Other than that, man, it was a fun deck. I'm sad that we lost, but I'm actually glad that we played Flyers. It makes your sideboard make a lot of sense, and I think that it shows a lot about the mono green decks. That if you want to attack the mono green format, then you probably need to be in the air. I mean, you've seen there in the games we were able to put down a lot of power. we did get disrupted in game 3 by having the wrong color lands, not having enough green, so that was a little heartbreaking for me. But anyway, I had a lot of fun with it. I hope you guys had fun. We'll see you next time here on Sideboard MTG.